Welcome back, everybody, to Costume Quest,
where we are hopefully getting closer to finishing this.
Yes, are we? You said we were.
We are close-ish.
Close-ish?
Ish. I'm not going to say we're like, in 2 episodes, we'll be done for good. No, I honestly don't know how many episodes are left.
On the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. I'm going to be honest, though. I did watch South Park after that movie.
I believe you. I really do.
I needed something to pick me, because it was so depressing. I was like, that just does, I mean, it didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth, but it really left me going, this is a lot of pessimism I'm kind of getting, and I'm not vibing with it.
You're not vibing with the pessimism?
Well, because it was a lot of, you know, like I said with Redditors, like, you can choose the truth or live in ignorance bliss. And I was like, and also just the line that one of the Smiths said, I wasn't a fan of that monologue saying, like, humans are a cancer to this world, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, then what are you? You're a parasite because you're living off of humans for energy like a battery. So
they really do.
So that's why I was like, you're no better. And I know people would argue, well, they never said they were better. I was like, yes, they did. They literally used humans as the goddamn battery. Like, huh?
Actually.
What do you mean they didn't say they were better? They clearly had the underlying tones that they were superior since they said humans were like a cancer. So I don't know. I didn't like the pessimism. And I know people fucking breathe that shit in and are like, humans are awful. It's the end of the race. And I'm like, excuse you. You can keep your pessimism to yourself. If you want to off yourself, go ahead. But the rest of us are going to enjoy the flowers and the bees and help each other out and make some honey. All right?
Probably don't off yourself.
Yeah, don't do that. Actually, no. But you know what I mean? Like the same people who like excuse like we're the human race is like they're the same people. It's like, well, we'll do it then. Like I'm not saying like I'm not encouraging it, but it's just more like. Why would you say that? Because then that just seems like you hate yourself if you want everybody else around you to be gone.
I think that those are also the same people that probably don't try to help. Like, the world's literally on fire and people don't care. And they're just people that ignore it and say it's fake. Those are probably like some of the same people that do that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and it's...
I gotta change my costume. We gotta be a little ghosty boy.
And that, yeah. So I didn't appreciate the pessimism in there. It was very much not my cup of tea.
Damn. I think I'm gonna lose this one.
Because, yeah. I'm not saying I'm stupid optimism. I'm just saying I'm hopeful that people can be good. I don't think people are inherently bad. I think we're taught to be bad. And people always point like, no, people are awful because of instinct and because of that. And it's like,
don't they do that?
I think instinct is different from like survival. Like if you put two children and you're helping one child and the other child gets no outside help and that child turns to like whatever means to survive, I don't think that's inherently evil. I don't think it's inherently evil to self-survive or self-preserve. That's just you wanting to live. Is there anything evil about wanting to live? I don't think so. Because I know people would morally like to say, well, no, because humans will kill other humans just to survive. And that's self-preservation. Like, there's a difference between self-preservation and trying to survive and having your needs met and helping other people is still choosing to be a bad person. Those are two different things, I think. Like, for example, you and I have our needs met. We have a pretty stable home, and we're okay. If we're inherently awful to other people, that's not us trying to survive. We're just awful people if we do that. But if somebody else is like acting a certain way, like say they're like starving to the brink of like death, and they steal, that's not inherently bad. That is just self-preservation trying to survive. I don't think there's anything bad. Now, does that excuse the behavior? I guess not, but again, self-preservation, I don't think there's anything evil about that. because you're trying to survive. Like killing an animal. There's nothing. I don't think there's. For me, that's morally gray.
Yeah.
And I feel like people, even on the internet, always try to categorize things in these boxes. Like, this is evil, this is bad, this is evil, this is bad. And it's like, I feel like when it comes to moral, like, it's kind of gray to certain areas, and people don't want to admit there's gray areas. It's not black and white. There's nuances. Because, for example, take the sentence, a man killed another man. Well, then that's like bad, right? But once you add like circumstances and situation to that, then how do you categorize like what's evil, what's bad? And I feel like people really got to start taking philosophy classes in high school, or at least ethics classes, because there seems to be a high detriment of people who seem to not know how to apply morals. I feel like people ought to take more ethics or philosophy classes, because let's be honest, that's really important. And it really helps self-critical thinking. Because sometimes people's motivations are different than categorizing them in black and white. But that's again my opinion.
That was a very big opinion.
Well, don't you think so?
I spaced out a little bit, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, for example, I remember in psychology class, we had one about morals. Our class didn't do very well because we didn't understand the assignment, because our teacher was kind of a dick. So it was hard to understand, like, what is this, huh? So one of the situations we had was, and we all, like, we didn't know how to approach it. We just went for, like, the most logical reasoning because he didn't really explain it. So when he got upset at our class, and he pointed at me, too. It was like, I expected better from you. And I was like, what?
What did I do?
I was genuinely confused. I was like, the assignment was not explained. How am I supposed to analyze something if you don't even teach us how to analyze an example or something? Anyway, the example was about firefighters and how the situation was there's a city.
Oh.
Okay. Because they said there was a city that had where there were multiple fires, and certain fire hydrants were placed at certain areas. And the situation was these firefighters are closer to this fire going on, but there's also another fire going on in another area. However, you don't have enough people to expend your crew because you need this amount of people
to put out a fire.
And so the options were like, what do you do? Do you like split up your teams and try to go to both fires? And it also added like how many people were in the housing in the area, like in each like building that had a fire. It's like kind of like the trolley experiment. Like, are you gonna split up your people so that way you can try to help? But if you do that, will it cut the time out for like people who would get injured or meet death? Like, that was the whole thing. And we were just like, well, we're gonna probably like, so we were like, okay, we'll go for the house that has like the least amount of people or like more people, and like put that one out first, and then we'll like probably put a third of our crew or something like that. We were going for like logical kind of thing, like, what do we do? And he got upset because we weren't finding more about it, and we didn't understand like, oh, we should be seeing what is the value of each life, and is it morally okay to put more resources where there's more people when like these other people's lives are worth just as much, like the trolley experiment thing.
Isn't it the same thing where it's like, oh, let me think. It's something about if a train's going, has two different paths it can take, and you have the lever. One's to like a family member that you know, and
oh yeah, that's the trolley experiment.
Yes. And like it's the other one's like 5 strangers you've never met and will never meet after, some shit like that.
Yeah, it's like, which one would you choose? Like, would you sacrifice one life for 5 or 5 for 1?
Yeah.
And I guess it's a really good experiment. But I feel like that question is kind of flawed. I think But I think I think it's supposed to be that simple.
And
Well,
Hunter
I
X Hunter.
Well, I don't know. Like, maybe there's a purpose why it's so simple. Like, maybe there's a reason why
God
it's so
damn
simple. And I have to read more about that experiment. Like, what is the purpose? Because for me, my little brain is like, well, first of all, if that situation ever did happen,
If it did happen, what?
if it did happen, why couldn't I just untie the other person? But then they'd be like, oh, well, because the train's too fast, you don't have time to untie them. And then, you know, oh, can I ask for outside help? No, you can't. It's just you.
Yeah, they make it really hard to like
You know, apply real life circumstances.
Yeah.
So, like, it's truly like that simple. Like, who do you pull the lever on? Who would you pull the lever on?
5 people.
Really?
100%. Yeah.
Instead of a family member?
Yeah. Like
Well-
the train would hit the 5 people if I'm being honest.
Well, how would you actually now? This is another good question. How would your family member feel about 5 people passing away just because you saved them?
It doesn't matter. It wasn't their decision. It was mine.
Oh wow, you're very certain on your questions.
I am like I'm the one who's got to live with it in the end.
Well, no, they have to live with it.
Why would they have to live with it?
Because
they
then
didn't have the option to choose.
They didn't have the option, but they know they're gonna feel guilt at the fact that like 5 people passed away because, you know, you valued their life higher than theirs.
I think I can live with, if I'm being honest.
So if they were to hate you for the rest of your life,
We'll continue this.
okay.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.